I think we are live. Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of The Recap. I am Michael DeAngelo, joined as always by my partner in crime, Mr. Big D, Daryl Ortiz, and we are here to recap Raw and Smackdown. What it would be December 4th and December 8th, I believe. Now we're into December. Obviously, it was an interesting week, and we're just going to jump right into it. So, Big D,
Road to Royal Rumble.
Yeah, Road to Royal Rumble, which is until January.
My
so
favorite. I love Rumble, so yeah, definitely.
Favorite of all time. It's a good one. I've seen some stinkers. I've seen some great ones. So we're under what we're going to get this year. And we're already getting some teasers about who's going to be in the Rumble and people declaring for it. So it didn't take any time to get to there. But Big D, what happened on Raw this week? Let's start.
Well, surprise, surprise. Raw opens with a promo. This time from Drew McIntyre. Talking about how Jay and Sam and Seth, they think they're so slick and they pull one over on him. I feel he's pulling this whole like me against the world kind of thing, and like I'm the only one that can set you free. It's more of like a mental game that he's starting to play. It's starting to show a little more and more his new character, which I'm interested to see where it goes. I don't hate it. And I'm not like on the love it part yet. I kind of want to see how it plays out. But again, he even calls out Sami Zayn. And of course, on cue, Sami comes out.
Sami Zayn.
So Sami talks about, hey, we're the same. We both got embarrassed in our hometown in front of our families. The only difference is that I made my family proud when I won at WrestleMania. Have you made your family proud? And of course, just completely infuriates Drew and gets a ref out there right away. They start their match. It was nothing fancy, decent match, nothing too crazy to happen there. Drew just definitely the aggressor, showing a much more aggressive, meaner streak in what he's doing. And so his move was a little more deliberate, and Sami tweaking his ankle on it looked like a flip over Drew. He tweaked his ankle, and Drew just kind of played to that towards the end, just taking out the ankle with like one of those little chop blocks to the knee. How that worked, but it worked, and ended up hitting the Claymore for the win. So again, just more of a, not I want to say a throwaway match, because Sami got his licks in too, but this was really more to kind of showcase Drew's more aggressive side. Not sure how you felt about it.
Oh, I had some problems with this. Okay, and there was the teaser last week, obviously, about you knew they were going to have the matchup because they had already said that. And so when they started kind of jawing, and then they went back to the, we're alike, we're not alike. I was kind of like, we saw this. Then they went right in, and it was like he walked down to the ring. They went right in the match. Right. So the match went on for 30 minutes, which I was timing. I was like, wow, this is going on for a long time. I'm like, this 30-minute match. They went to commercial break not once, but twice. And it's the other pet peeve that I have. And this is going to be the running theme, I think, for Raw and SmackDown, is cutting to commercial during matches. And I absolutely can't stand it. It's the worst thing. But they did it twice during this one. And I was like, really? We're going to 2 breaks? From what I kind of had envisioned is this is going to be like Drew McIntyre's coming out party for, he's now the Scottish psychopath again, plus. And he's going to come out here and decimate Sami Zayn. And that didn't happen. They had a competitive match, and to the point where there was like a sequence in there where, he hit him with the Scottish kiss, and then he hit him with a power bomb, and then Zayn kicked out of both of them like immediately, and then Zayn hit him with like a blue bomb, and I was like, what is going on? Like the blue thunder bomb, and I'm like, why is Sami Zayn like the Terminator? Like you like
keeps
Drew McIntyre can't put Sami Zayn away. He keeps coming back, and it was like this is so competitive. Where when it got to the end of this 30 minutes that they were wrestling, it gets to the end, and the only reason why he won is because he finally took advantage of a knee injury that happened like early on, and the whole time was like, well, Sami's hobbled, and I'm like, you can't put away a hobbled Sami Zayn, and you're perfectly healthy, and it takes you like hitting him with the forearm in the back of the knee. So I felt like, man, this really makes Drew McIntyre look weak. Like what was the point of this? Like
that's what I'm saying.
If they're trying to make him, I was like, this is so strange. Like if you're trying to say this is a new gimmick for him, and he's more dangerous than ever, and he's not showing mercy to anybody, and he's struggling with an injured Sami Zayn. I don't think it had the intended consequence. Like when it was done seeing that, and I was like, wow, this went on for a really, really long. I felt like it would have been better if you're gonna and maybe Sammy's taking time off. It's like, is he taking time off, and so he needs to fake a knee injury, or is that real? I thought they were just playing it up because they did the segment backstage where he attacks him afterwards again, which stretched the first 45 minutes of the show to Sammy and them, because it was like, go to commercial, come back. Here's what happened previously. Now afterwards, oh, no, he's being attacked backstage. Oh, now Jimmy Uso's back there.
Yeah,
or,
Jay goes
Jay
back to
Uso's
console
back
him.
there.
Yeah.
And Jay's like, hey, are you all right? And he's consoling. And I was like, this is going on for the first 45 minutes of the show are these two in what should have been just a squash match. And if you do that, have him attack him like before the match. And like bash his knee or something. And it's like, wow, he's crazy. Look, he like messed up his knee before they even got going. And then he goes out and squashes him. You can do the same thing and spend 10 minutes on it. And have it be more effective. So I was just like it kind of took the wind out of my sails.
I mean, okay, so that's why, and that's why I say like there's nothing fancy, you know. I mean, it was a decent match, right? I mean, Sammy got his legs stuck.
It was good. Well, I feel like well wrestled. Yeah.
I mean, well, because it's Sami Zayn and Drew's always good too, but Sammy's amazing in the ring too. But in my opinion,
and that's not a knock on Sammy.
No, of course not.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, like, in my opinion, I feel that they could have totally done this maybe more where Drew gets the quick win, right? And then the main focus is on him just beating him down in the ring and using the steps like he did to injure the ankle more and stuff like that. Like, use that. Be aggressive there. Have Jay come out for the save. And then, of course, have Adam Pearce come out and be like, no, Jay, you got a main event. You got to go back, you know, and let's get this squared away. Because, I mean, a lot more could have been done differently, I feel. And it could have been done in a shorter amount of time. I feel like it did run very long. I mean, I recapped it in a much shorter fashion simply because, good Lord, it was long. I couldn't.
Oh, and that's why I was like, wow, they're going to a second commercial. When you're going to second commercial break, I'm like, that's too long. Like main events don't do that.
One commercial break too many, I feel. That's just
well, there was too many in that one. I'm like, stop cutting the commercial. Just let the match happen. But
let it happen. I agree. But after that, you get yet another, another squash match. You get Shayna Baszler versus Nia Jax, and again, Nia Jax. I don't know why they love booking her so strong as like the dominant force that like nobody can, So I'll give you an example. So throughout the whole show, they're talking about how she's like, "Oh, I'm going to squash you. I'm going to squash you." I'm like, she's embracing it, right? They're even calling her move like a squash. She's like, "No, it's called the Annihilator," right? And so it kind of got old at that spot. And you know what else gets old? And I'm just going to say it right now. Here's what gets old. Nia Jax trying to scream or yell aggressively. It just sounds so nagging.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I wrote that down. I was like, she yelled a lot.
She yelled, and it wasn't anything like she was using force or anything. It was just like the hits or when she got hit.
She just starts running. Yeah. She starts running. She goes, and just yells on top of her lungs. And just it's like while she's just trying to pick up steam.
I mean, she's yelling to pick up Shayna. I'm like, Shayna's like a quarter of your size. You're strong. I've seen her body slam other women, bigger than her or her size. I'm sorry, bigger than Shayna. Come on, like it's just annoying. And I know it's just being overdone for. I get what she's doing, but it's just not working for me. Another thing too is Shayna got a little bit of offense. It's kind of almost like a similar. Like a repeat of the match we just saw, right? Like Shayna got some offense in, showed why she is who she is, locked in the Kirifuda clutch, but surprise, surprise, right? Nia powers out of it somehow, some way. No, she just gets up and squashes her with her finisher, and the match is over. Of course, the crowd hated it. They were booing her like to the rafters.
Yeah, the crowd was booing.
The boos
were
immense.
Really unhappy.
Yeah. Then, of course, the boos are going, and out comes Becky. And Becky comes out to challenge her. What does she do? Like any typical heel, she runs. Not today. Blah blah blah. I feel that Wade Barrett did a good job protecting her in that aspect. Like, well, no, you want to be 100% when you go out. I'm like, yeah, but she just squashed Shayna Baszler. Like, she should be able to go with Becky. I mean,
in the history where she literally broke Becky Lynch's face with like one shot, like for real. So why now are you so afraid of her? And she taunted her backstage before this.
She did. She's like, "Oh, it's the punch hurt around that." Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, well, and this is where I was like, not, and to your point, it was Nia yelling a lot. She's pretty clumsy. Like she
Yeah.
used to look more polished. I mean, she's known
She
for
used to
messing
be
up
more
a lot.
polished. Yeah, she's bad.
And
I mean,
she's
she
more
almost
polished.
hurt Shayna.
She looked bad. She looked clumsy. And what I will say though, this one also went to commercial in the middle of the match, which I was okay with. But apparently, the best part of the match happened during the commercial break because I saw it on social media where it was the botched stink face. I don't know if you saw that,
yeah.
where she
No,
attempted.
not yet.
Yeah, she went for the stink face, and then she like got her in the corner, and she completely missed her. So it was like her butt on the side, like not in her face, just like wiggling.
Wow.
And Shayna Baszler's head's like over here, and I'm like, how do you mess up a stink face? Like,
You know how?
But that happened during the commercial break because it didn't happen live. Because afterwards, people were like laughing about it. I was like, I don't remember seeing the stink face, and it was like somebody's cell phone video that caught it. So another reason why you can't go to commercial WWE, you will miss the best parts of the match because that by far was the most entertaining thing that happened.
That's why they went to commercial. They didn't want to see that. But did you see where she almost? I mean, she is a liability in the ring. That suplex off the top. She literally, like, her whole behind just landed on Shayna's head, and it's. I mean, the ref was even like, "Hey, are you good?" Like Shayna kind of, a little wobbly.
Oh,
there.
when Shayna went for the belly to. She went for the
there you go, the belly to belly. Thank you.
She's like suplexing her off the top. So,
but she didn't go
launched
enough.
her backwards, and it was. Yeah, she didn't get enough air, so she caught her, and her butt like grazed across the top of her head, and it was like, it just looked bad. It also, and it's like, oh well, Shayna Baszler's, she's trying because she's not strong enough to get her all the way across. But I'm like, that stuff's dangerous.
It is.
Nia Jax, we've talked about her a lot in terms of botches and doing dangerous things. Obviously, Becky Lynch we just mentioned. So, and I don't really get like. Haven't we moved past Nia Jax at this point?
I thought we
did in terms of being a main eventer. I mean, I don't know.
It seems like they're pushing her for it now.
I guess not.
And I mean, I hope not. I really don't. And nothing against Nia. I think, but it's irritating or frustrating because I know a lot of when she came back, I think a lot of the reports backstage were that a lot of girls were not happy to have her back because she's just a liability in the ring. She hurts people in the ring because I don't know if she just doesn't train as hard. I don't know what the issue is. I really don't. But it's just not clicking. And I think they hung up on this like, oh, she's The Rock's cousin. Yeah, that's great. But is he training her? Because he probably should, because to help her out. Can she be an effective powerhouse? And I'm not saying it because she's a big woman. I have nothing against it. Piper Niven is killing it, and I love it. I'm glad they gave her back. I'm glad they dropped the whole dewdrop gimmick because that was pathetic. But I'm glad they did that, right? Because now she can be the badass Piper Niven that just dominates people, and she does very well. And see, Nia doesn't do that. Nia, she doesn't have the personality. Everything sounds very forced. She's not good at promos.
Yeah.
I've heard her
doing the
fumble
heel thing,
in promos.
like when she. Yeah, the promos and all the backstage stuff. When she gets back there, it's always like, "Well, Becky Lynch, you're a dork," and it's kind of like, what are you?
You're a doo-doo head.
You're a doo-doo head. It's like who talks like this? And then she never looks them in the eyes, and she always seems like she's searching for the words the whole time. But she's been around for so long. It's like you think she'd be better at promos.
Exactly.
You think she'd be more polished as wrestler, and maybe it's just injuries, and she's been doing this for a while now, and she doesn't move as well as she used to. But she never moved all that well to begin with. No. And I think I don't understand the big push now. Like I think it's being done at the expense of a lot of other wrestlers who are far more deserving. But we'll see if this plays out, and maybe they'll prove us wrong. I don't know.
Obviously, Becky and I as the next move, so we'll see what happens with that when it comes out. So after that, we get a CM Punk video montage where it's just like a recap of his return and then his little promo that he did about how he's home and not everyone missed him and all that good stuff, with one key piece missing. That being what he said off the mic when he looked into the camera and said, I'm not here. I'm here to make money. I'm not here to make friends. Conveniently, that's cut out. And again, we talked about this last week, and I get it, right? But not to beat a dead horse, it's just, goes to show that maybe that was the true colors of CM Punk showing, in terms of his true intentions in being in WWE, right? Or maybe it's going to be part of the storyline. Maybe, who knows? I mean, if it were me, if I were Seth, I'd use that, right? Like, as part of my promo, like, oh, all of you guys are so, falling for him, but you're not seeing the real him. Like, like maybe that's what they're gonna go with, but that's pretty much what it is. And it's not. He's not gonna wrestle at least this month. I don't feel. My prediction is his first in ring performance is going to be at the Royal Rumble, because he can be protected. He can, kind of lounge in the corner when someone's, people are getting beat up and whatnot. He can kind of catch a break, get his wind, and just throw people over. He'll probably hit a couple GTAs for the pop, and that'll be that. I hope he doesn't win it. I hope it's Cody, but that's the conversation.
I hope it's Cody, and watch it come down to the two of them. It'll be him and Cody as the last two in the ring, and he'll beat Cody, and everyone will go, "No, I can't believe it." They let him do it.
Will they boo? Will they boo? Because they're supposedly friends.
They better boo. If he goes over Cody, gosh, they better go against CM Punk. They have to. I would think so.
That should be the launch of heel CM Punk.
He's never stopped being heel CM Punk. It just depends on who you ask.
He's always heel CM Punk. So after that, we got a pretty good tag team match between DIY and Imperium. Best 2 out of 3 falls match, which is best of 3, which is always fun to watch. Those are good, except for the most overused finisher in all of sports entertainment. People can kick out of spears. People can kick out of pedigrees. People can kick out of power bombs. People can kick out of tombstones, apparently. F5s, everything, right? But they can't
kick out of everything.
Of the roll-up. Can't kick out of the
surprise roll-up.
So
it's a surprise.
Yeah, so of course.
It's not a surprise when you do it twice, though.
Yeah, Imperium gets the win with the roll-up, right? And then after that, DIY gets the win with the roll-up. And the way they sold it was hilarious. Yeah. The way they sold it, like, oh, now DIY's got their backs against the wall. They got to fight, with their backs against the wall. I'm like, they literally just lucked out on a roll-up. It wasn't anything about skill. Both teams were fighting very well. Yeah. I will give them their due course. Both teams work very well together. And I'm very happy to see DIY back together. It's a lot of fun to see them wrestle. There's just a lot of back and forth in that one too. I thought it was a very fun match. I love seeing them, especially even like Vinci and his buddy there. It's not something that we get too often, where you get to see like the little nuances of each tag team, right? You get like the little perfection. So like, for example, Vinci hitting that, I don't know if you caught that springboard moonsault, which was amazing. That was something work of art. That was awesome.
He had the springboard moonsault, and then he also had that running crossbody where he just was running full
the
speed,
hard one,
and hit the crossbody. I was like, wow, this was match of the night for me when I saw. I was like, this was the most fun, most entertaining. You had 4 individuals in there. So what? Kaiser, Vinci, Gargano, and Ciampa. Those 4 are so good. They're also talented. They're also athletic, and so it was just like high speed, like nonstop entertainment. Yeah. The problem that I had with it was too short, and it's 2 out of 3s, 2 out of 3 falls. They had a commercial break, obviously, because they have to go to commercial break. They went to commercial break after the first fall. Got to. It's like it's company policy. Like, we got to see 80 CM Punk promos, but we've got time for all of those, but we don't have time just to stick with the match. The first 2 falls were over with by 10 minutes in, and I was like, in a 2 out of 3 falls match, like 10 minutes in, we've hit 2 of them. Total match time, which I wrote it down, was 15 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes to get 3 falls, and we saw Sami Zayn getting beat up for 30 minutes to open the show.
Well, so, more than 30, because the backstage
maybe take some. And the backstage it was like 45 minutes. So I'm thinking, if you give a 30-minute match time on what should have essentially been a squash to open the show, and then you gave 15 minutes to 2 great tag teams that were putting on a great show in a 2 out of 3 falls match, which you kind of expect this is going to be a longer match, and it was probably one of the shorter matches.
It was.
I was thinking, I hope I hope they have a segment where, like, than they did the previous week when they were like, "This is commercial free." I was like, I hope this one's commercial free because they're going to have to take a lot of commercial breaks. And of course, they took a commercial break, but it was still only 15 minutes. So that was the bummer that I had, where I was like, "This is really good. I want to see more of this and less of what opened the show."
Right. I agree. And I think I enjoyed the match. And of course, DIY winning it with the meat in the middle. It was disrupted the first time by Vinci saving Kaiser from it. And again, they still were able to get it done. Right. And which is awesome. I love it. So that was a good match. Yeah. I just wish it went a little bit longer. I wish it wouldn't have been 2 roll-ups. Yeah. Maybe if Kaiser gets the first fall as a roll-up, but then DIY wins the last 2 by a legit pinfall, then that would have been good, because then that could have increased the storyline within Imperium, right? Kaiser only can win by doing a roll up, and that can be seen as like a disgrace to Imperium, because they're talking about, the Ring of Sacred, we're traditionalists, and you should have won by pinfall. Are you not strong enough? Then you can kind of get into that whole aspect, right? But I mean, they just double back to back roll ups really fast. It's I literally just threw my pin because I was taking notes, and I was just like, this is stupid. But afterwards, they let them pick up steam, and they all did a great job. So I love the match. I agree, match of the night for that one, because it was just great, So speaking of tag team action,
great. Yeah. It's just too short. Yeah. Speaking of tag teams, I agree.
Yeah. So we had another tag team match with Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. I swear she's changed her name so many times already. But anyways, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance.
On the promo right before that, didn't they have her actual name? It was like something Rodriguez. And then I was like, hey, she changed her name between in the last 30 seconds, because they'd flash it up like fun facts about her. And then she had a different name on the next segment. So, hey, WWE, update your like bio cards. If you're going to throw it up there and be like, hey, you want to learn some fun facts about the wrestlers, let's introduce you. At least use the same name. Like, get that straight.
Or maybe that's going to be her next name. We don't know. We don't know.
It could be. Yeah, it might be. Don't know. I don't know at what point this is in terms of the progression. I just know that I actually rewound it because I was like, that's the same person, right? Like, I'm pretty sure it is. And I'm like, yeah, it is. She just has 2 names apparently.
Yeah. So that was a decent match. Nothing really fancy stood out other than Tegan knocks Natalya again, and even the promo before it where Chelsea Green and Piper Niven were like, "You guys keep trying to make this happen. Don't make it." It was pretty much calling out Natalya for trying to like ride the coattails of the younger talent, which is exactly what she's doing. Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh my god, get over it.
It's a fair criticism.
It is, and of course you had Chelsea Green and Piper Niven at commentary. They really didn't add much to it, other than Piper Niven clearly being the leader of the group and bossing Chelsea Green around, which is pretty funny. But I do want to give kudos to Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, because their in-ring work together has seemed to gotten a lot better since their NXT days when they first got paired up. And I like it. They're looking a lot cleaner in the ring. I feel that they could eventually be a contender for the tag titles, and I think they should keep them considered for it and not lose sight of that, because they are a legitimate tag team. They have not been solo since they debuted in NXT, but they've been tag team for quite a while now, so I think that's great. Give them a freaking name already so we can stop saying Kaden Carter Katana Chance. Because Chance. Jesus.
Which is very confusing, because it's like Kaden Carter, Katana, Chance. It's like Kaden and Katana and Carter and Chance, and I'm like, okay, this is confusing. I found myself calling them like half of each other's names a couple of times. I agree. Same. I think they're really talented. They're a good tag team. They're really talented, and it was funny because I also wrote down when I was watching it about the commentary. I was like having Piper and Green out there. I was like they added nothing, which I'm glad you picked up on that too, because I'm like, is it just me? I'm like, they're not really saying anything. Mm-mm. And so there were long spells where they'd be completely quiet and you forget that they were there. And then Piper was kind of hard to hear at times too. So I'm not a huge fan of guest commentary unless someone's really going to contribute. Like The Miz, I thought was always good on guest commentary when he would pop in.
Always good.
I think it should be sparing.
Mm-hmm. You can't overuse it, right? You got to find the right person, the person that can cut promos well. I remember when The Rock used to sit in color commentary. That was hilarious because he used to just just talk trash. You know what I mean? And it was great.
Yeah.
And he would.
I was like, yeah, you have to have charisma. You
Yeah.
got to be fast and have charisma and be able to think of witty things. And I'm sure they've all got earpieces in,
Of course.
and Vince McMahon's back there whispering things in their ear. So it's not like they're out there on an island by themselves. But still,
True. But yeah, so again, nothing fancy to talk about in that match. Again, they just look really well. Their finisher is really nice. I like it. That headstand, that headstand finisher that they do.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was actually really cool. I've never seen that before. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. Then we go to another promo with Cody. This time comes out, cuts it on Shinsuke. He's dressed in ring gear, ready to go. I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, he is. And telling Shinsuke, "Let's go."
Yeah.
Comes out. Shinsuke, of course, the screen goes. He calls him out. Nothing happens, and the screen goes dark. And then, or not the screen. I'm sorry, the ring goes dark. And Shinsuke again, video promo. I love these video promos for Shinsuke with the subtitles. I'm a huge fan of this. I would love to keep this going because, and the good thing, if you noticed, little attention to detail here. So during Shinsuke's promo, Cody is facing the hard cam. He's not looking at the screen. And he's nodding as he's listening. Why? Because Cody spent time in New Japan. He understands the language. He understands Shinsuke. He doesn't need to read it.
I didn't pick up
so
on that.
He's feeling it. You know what I mean? And there was some stuff there where he was talking about, Cody and his journey, and I'm going to unburden you. We have similar paths because we both won the Rumble with great fanfare, and we both lost, and I know it's a heavy burden for you, but I can carry it for you. Yeah. And I think it's a great thing, right?
I was actually into it. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how they were going to work that. And when he said that, I was like, huh, yeah, they actually have had that parallel that they've followed in their careers. And so I was kind of like, okay, cool. I can get into this. This makes enough sense for me in the world of wrestling that I'm like, all right, I'm buying in.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, it sets up next week. They're going to have a match, right? But I'm curious to see what happens with that match because I don't know if it's actually going to happen, right? Like, so my thoughts are it's going to be somebody's going to get jumped before the match even gets started, or there's too much heat because Shinsuke touched the nerve. Because Cody's always looked cool, calm, collected doing his promos, but he looked bothered. I think it purposely cut to where he's looking out the hard cam and the screen's off to his right, and he looked really bothered when Shinsuke was talking, and again because he understands the language and all that good stuff, right? But I think that kind of set up a more psychological tone to it. Like I said in the last week, I love this new direction of Shinsuke. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's gonna work. I think this is what they should have done with him from the beginning, instead of whatever it was they were calling it, right? But I'm curious, I'm curious to see what happens next week in their match. If they do have a match, it's probably going to be a banger because they are great in the ring individually and together, amazing, I'm sure. So more to come on that, I guess. We'll see. And then
I agree because when I heard the announcement on the match, I was like, that feels a little early. Like it feels like they're pulling the trigger on it too soon because they got to make this feud last until the Rumble. So I agree. So. I was like, is that actually going to happen? Or what are they planning on doing to get them out of that? Because they're like, it's already been signed. They're having a match. So I agree. Yeah. It feels like they have to pivot somehow. I'm just not sure how
they have to. Something has to happen. Maybe Cody gets found with mist in his face and he's beat up in his locker room and he can't compete. Who knows?
Yeah,
time will tell.
Could
next
be.
week.
We'll have to tune in and find out. Yeah, we'll find out next week.
Then we had the third squash match of the night in JD McDonough and Dominic Mysterio versus the Creed brothers. R-Truth comically making himself part of the group was awesome.
Part of the Judgment Day.
Yeah, he's Judgment Day now. He came out with the purple bandana and the shirt, which is hilarious. I love R-Truth. I missed him. I'm glad he's back. But yeah, it was pretty much just a warm-up, like a warm-up match and showcase match for the Creed brothers. I mean, it was an easy win for them. I honestly didn't see. JD McDonough hit a few good moves, showing why he is who he is, which is a shame because they say that Finn Balor trained JD McDonough, which is true. They actually had the similar name, JD McDonough, before he was JD McDonough back at NXT UK. He actually he was Devlin. I forget his last name. He did win by Devlin, and similar to what Finn Balor's former name used to be, so it's really cool because that was his teacher. And I know he's great in the ring. We've seen him do amazing things in the ring, but I kind of don't like that now he's just kind of like the lapdog and he's just kind of catching the beatings for Judgment Day. I mean, it is what it is, right? But of course, you can't let Dom get pinned because he has to defend the NXT North American title. So I guess by default, it goes to the person not wearing a title. But after that, of course, JD and Dom tell Damian Priest like, "Oh, they're legit. Be careful with them." And I'm like, "Yeah, the fact that they like ran through the tag team turmoil wasn't proof enough." But okay, but
yeah, so that felt a little odd. They had to report back one, and it really was. You're right. It was like a squash. Like Julius Creed had his 10,000 belly to belly suplexes. That was a cool sequence where he's just getting hit belly to belly over and over and over and over and over. And it was more of a showcase. It's like, hey, let's show off a little bit. Obviously, they're really good athletes. And they're really well trained, so it was kind of a chance for them to show off. And poor JD is just—he's kind of at the point where he's cannon fodder for everybody, which is a shame because he's talented, but he is kind of the odd man out right now.
He is. Hopefully, they'll find some place for him, maybe in the cruiserweight, or maybe I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell on that. But yeah, that was pretty much it for that one. It's not really anything too fancy to go off of. Then we had the main event. And it was funny that at this point in time is when they decided to mention that day was the anniversary of Umaga's death or passing, and that Jay was dedicating the match to him. Right off the bat, I'm like, yeah, he's losing. I'm like, they love to do that.
Well, when he didn't walk out, when it was like he's already in the ring, I was like, really? This is the main event in the World Heavyweight title match?
He didn't get an entrance?
And it's like he didn't get an entrance. He didn't get a walkout. He's just standing in the ring when they come back from like a promo. And I was like,
jobber.
Okay, he's not winning this. Yeah. And I was like, and it's like the local guy who's like, and from Provo, Utah. And he's like standing there and gets beaten like 5 seconds. That for me was like, okay, you can't telegraph this more that he's not going to win. Which we knew he wouldn't, but make us believe.
And they tried, right? So like you had the match start with lots of quick chain wrestling moves, right? Lots of reversals, a lot of roll-ups, kick out, roll-up, kick out, roll-up, kick out. And then I love the way the sequence ended where they tried to do a roll-up and Seth kicks out of it and almost hits a stomp. Kind of like that warning to Jay, like, hey, at any moment I could end this. And he kind of like slowed it. Then from there, the match tempo kind of slowed down. And I was like, okay, I like that because that kind of helps set the pace, set the tone of the match. Saying, okay, this isn't going to be like a big squash match. There's actually going to be some good moves going on here. And there sure were. I mean, it was a very, very good match to watch. The crowd was going bananas for it. They gave it a decent amount of time. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was about a 20-minute match. Nothing too much, but it was decent. Jay, again, here's my beef with it. Jay hit the spear, bringing it out of Roman's artillery, hit the Uso splash multiple times. He's hit those two finishers multiple times throughout the match. Could not get the pin at all. Now, I don't know if that's maybe they're hinting that he can't win unless he has a partner. He can't close out the match on his own. Is that what they're hinting or insinuating? Or was it just they didn't want Seth to drop the title? Well, time will tell on that one, right? Yeah. But, of course, the match does end where Seth reverses the spear into a pedigree and then goes back and hits him with a stomp for extra good measure, gets the victory, celebrates, is outside the ring. Then Drew just comes in and destroys them both. And then he goes and stakes his claim with Seth Rollins, of course. And that's pretty much how the night closes out with Drew standing tall over Seth.
Yeah, and for me, I was disappointed with the main event. Like because they're both so capable. The other thing too is there was 2 commercial breaks on this one also. Yeah, there were, which bummed me out because the match started a minute and a half in. It goes to the first commercial break. They come back, wrestle for 3 minutes, and then there's another 3 to 4 minute break, and then another 5 minutes of match. So it was like. It just kept starting and stopping. It's like every time, like when you're watching at home, it's like, all right, and they just disappear for like 4 minutes, and then they come back. It's like, yeah, this match is still going on. It's like, yeah, this is the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. Why do you keep cutting away? And they kept cutting away, and the reversal of the spear into the pedigree really took me out of it. Like, I don't know if like it looked so awkward because Jay was coming in and he leaps and then he tucks his chin down. So he's leaping and then he's setting himself up to take a pedigree. So I'm like, he's in the air and he tucks his chin before Seth's even gotten to him. And then Seth grabs him and pedigrees him. And I was like, okay, he kind of flew into the pedigree in a pedigree position. And because he has to do it. And it was so telegraphed that it kind of took me out of it, where I was like, all right, like at least make it look like when you get RKO'd out of nowhere, it looks natural. It looked so unnatural that I was like, yeesh. Like, it just, the way that it looked when it ended totally bugged me. And predictably, we had talked about this last week. It was like, this match probably ends with Drew McIntyre either interfering, causing a disqualification. It's like, he didn't cause this, but he did jump in at the end and attack everybody, which was pretty predictable about what was going to happen. And we had called it the week before. So, what's your overall grade for Raw this week?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, if I have to give it a grade, this is more of like a C- for me, only because too many 3 squash matches in one show. I mean, one of them against someone who was your NXT Women's Champion and Shayna Baszler, who dominated for God knows how long, which is a shame. I feel that they underutilize Shayna Baszler. She's great on the mic. She is really good on the mic. She is a phenomenal wrestler. Her holds are awesome. So I don't know why they don't give her an opportunity there. The Creed brothers, they could have been more effective if they just squashed some local talent and then Dom and JD try to jump them from behind and fail. That probably would have given the same results. The double roll-ups for DIY Imperium, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Tegan Knox, and Natalya. Good Lord, that's long to say. I mean, though, that match, I mean, it's a shame, right? And of course, the opening match I'm not even going to call it a match. That was a segment. So like 45-minute segment on just Drew and Sammy. Segment. That just, I mean, I get it. You want to build character, but there's other ways around it, I feel, but it is what it is. I say C-, and that's being generous. I wasn't very sports entertained.
I was slightly more generous. I was like a C. I took the minus off. I was like, it was a C show for me also. And yeah, it was just, there was one really great match and one good match. And like you said, a lot of squashes, the surprise roll-ups. Pacing was funky. Way too many commercial breaks during the matches. That opening sequence, that 45 minutes, it was like that time better spent on other things. And then I had to see CM Punk again. I had to watch a recap of CM Punk of stuff that we
They're always going to recap CM Punk for until Rumble.
Yeah, like every episode is going to be, here's what happened with CM Punk last week, and we're going to have to hear it just with music playing behind it. So, but I get it. That's where we're at.
They're going to say, previously on the CM Punk show.
On the CM Punk show. And he's like, I'm the best in the world, baby.
It's clobbering time.
Speaking until January. Yeah. Well, speaking of which, we got to see him on SmackDown this week. Yeah. SmackDown, which this week's show was actually a very special show. It was the annual tribute to the troops. Apparently, it's the 21st. I didn't realize it had been 21 years already.
Yeah.
The 21st year tribute to the troops.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time. Opened up with America the Beautiful, which was a great way to start the show out. And thank you to all of our men and women of our armed forces. You all rock. You are awesome if you're out there watching. Thank you for all that you do to safeguard our freedoms and to take care of us and keep us safe. We appreciate you. So always love to see this show. It's always interesting to see how much they deviate from storylines, obviously, because it's a little bit of a special show. Right. So there's a little bit. JBL was back on commentary.
Yeah. Well, they say because he pitched it originally, right? He was the creator of the.
Yeah, that's what they were saying, which I did not realize. I didn't realize that it was his idea. It kind of makes sense. I mean, it does. It does. And so he comes back apparently for the annual show. So JBL was there. I haven't really missed JBL on commentary. We'll put it that way. He is small doses JBL. So
once a year for tribute to the troops.
Once a year for tribute to the troops is more than enough. But he was on commentary. And then of course after that, we went right into the U.S. Championship tournament that we got talked about last week with Logan Paul. So it was a rematch between Santos Escobar and Dragon Lee. And then Dominic Mysterio joined at ringside, kind of did nothing except just stand there and go. And looked disinterested. Like I thought he was going to do something. He didn't do anything. He just stood there. The match, I will say, for me, was much better than Survivor Series.
Oh yeah.
Like I felt like this should have been the match that happened at Survivor Series, and they're like, hey, we're going to run it back here. And definitely more of what we wanted to see, of more of that kind of high-flying, fast-paced lucha libre. There was better spots and more spots.
Oh, yeah.
So I was very pleased with this one because I felt like the Survivor Series one, we talked about it, was a lost opportunity. This kind of made up for it. Same result, though. Santos ends up picking up the victory, and he moved on in the tournament. And Dominic, after he won, like it kind of... They hinted that him and Dominic were going to be aligned, and they were kind of like nodding at each other and all this. And then at the end, when he won, Dominic's just like,
like a golf club,
like disinterested. And I was like, okay, so it's like, what the heck is like this? Like, I thought you guys were buddies, and then he just walked in and roughed up Dragon Lee a little bit and held up the NXT title and walked out. So I guess that was just the teaser. It's just a teaser for Saturday, but it was a good match. Just the Dominic Mysterio thing was confusing to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was much happier with the match. So happy I wore my Lucha shirt. So I love it. I was happy.
There you go.
But
represent.
Dom did absolutely nothing. I thought maybe he would, jaw jack a little bit, because I know he had the match with Dragon Lee tomorrow actually, as to Saturday.
Tomorrow night.
But so I mean, I kind of figured, it is.
But it's happening. It's going down.
It's going down. But I think that he did nothing. Like he could have. There's so much he could have done. Maybe just, like I said, just a simple jaw jacking to just, But again, at the same time, I'm kind of glad he didn't, because then it would have taken away from Santos's victory, and because that's the other thing too. Like, right, you don't want him. You want him to win clean, and he did. So I was happy with the match.
Yeah,
it was
he
a
won
good
clean as a
opening match.
whistle.
So I was happy with it.
Yeah. It was good. It was a good way to start. It wasn't 45 minutes of shenanigans. So I think
they only got 2 hours on the show.
Good, fun, high energy match, and it's in a reasonable amount of time. I am all about that. There was a commercial break during that one too, right after Santos hit the power bomb on the ring apron, which I've heard is the hardest part of the ring.
The hardest.
He hits the bomb, and then I know you have written a thesis on this, so we're going to get that published on the podcast as soon as we can. It's out there somewhere. But he did that, and then they're like, oh, my gosh, that was terrible. We'll be right back. And then they cut to commercial. So this one was not spared the commercial break habits that have been going on. Right. But after this one, I think we got into the flashback of what happened last week on SmackDown, where he talked about Randy Orton and the signing, which – I'm like, are you guys going to do this every single week, where you're going to make us watch essentially what happened the previous week? Like, this is just filler. And so it's like, we know what happened. And then after the flashback, you cut to Randy Orton and in Nick Aldis's office, and he's like complaining about being in the tag team main event.
Oh, yeah.
With LA Knight. And then he's like, who's this LA Knight? I don't even know this guy. I have no idea who LA Knight is. And I'm thinking, Randy, you know who LA Knight, like you haven't been living under a rock. You know who, like the fact that he was like legitimately like, I have never met this person before, and I do not know if he would have my back. Who is this LA Knight? And it's like, he's not like he's not like the local guy. Yeah.
Right.
It was kind of a strange thing of why is he so beside himself? Like, I have no idea who this person is.
Yeah, and it's funny because the week before that, when Jay talked to him about, hey, we're cool, right? He literally said, oh, I've been watching. Even though I was out, I've been watching Raw, I've been watching SmackDown.
Yeah.
Keeping up. You literally
That's
last
right,
week
because
just
I remember
said
he was saying he kept
that
up
you've been
with it.
watching. How do you not know who LA Knight is? Of course, it's just Randy being.
Well, because I remember him referencing that. That's where I was like, why? Like, he's like, I have no. who's this person? I was like, no, I know he talked about how he'd been paying attention and watching. So if he was really watching, he would know who LA Knight was, and it wouldn't be such a freaking mystery. But like
he should have just stood with. He should have just stood with the whole "I don't need anybody's help" thing. I think that probably would have been better.
Yeah, or I don't trust the guy. Like I don't know him. Like, right. But he played it off less as I don't know the guy personally. He was just like, I've never heard of this guy. It was weird. And then he gives him the check for like the fine for RKOing him, and he's like, hey, this is $100,000. And he's like, it's only supposed to be 50, Randy. And he's like, that's for the next one. Which I was like, wouldn't your second offense be a higher fine? I'm like, not in the Randy, I'm with Nick on this one. Like I would assume that they would go, oh, the first offense is like 50, like the second's like 75. So Randy, your math might be off a little bit there, preemptively trying to pay the fine.
Maybe he has a punch card where like the 6 RKO is free.
I guess so. Yeah, that's probably the case. He'll whip that out later. Speaking of whipping it out later, Cody Rhodes was up next, which kind of caught me off guard because I was like, hey, wait a second, what's he doing on this show? We already saw him cut a promo.
He's a Raw
guy. He's a Raw guy. Obviously, this is a special show again, tribute to the troops, and that's really what Cody Rhodes was there for.
Right.
No references to Shinsuke Nakamura. No. Nothing with what's going on Raw. He talked about tribute to the troops, and then he introed a promo video that was basically just John Cena. It was like John Cena's career at tribute to the troops, and I almost thought, is John Cena going to walk out after this? Because the whole video was about John Cena's experiences at tribute to the troops, and then afterwards he was like, I'll introduce, and I was like, he's going to introduce John Cena, and he's like, the U.S. Army Drill Team, and I was like, oh, that's even cooler because I would rather see the U.S. Army Drill Team than see John Cena again. And they did great performance demonstration. It was awesome. Again, thank you to all our service members around the world for what you do. So this is a nice moment right in the middle of the show.
Yep.
And then we moved into the continuation of the tournament, which was the U.S. Championship tournament. Bobby Lashley against Karrion Kross. This match was good. It was entertaining. Bobby Lashley, spoiler alert, Bobby Lashley won. He hit the spear, picked up the win. He's advancing in the tournament. There was some back and forth, but he did pretty much, at least from when I was watching, I was like, he really kind of led the match the whole time. And I wouldn't say dominated, Karrion Kross got his licks in, but he was leading, watched it. My biggest complaint with this one was commentary, and it was because they had Brad Nesser that was in there, and because he was going to be calling the Army Navy football game, and so he's on commentary. You got JBL on commentary, you got Michael Cole on commentary, and you have that other guy. I can't keep. You got a 4-man commentary team, and there were times where they're all just like chatting with each other while a really great match was going on. Yeah, and I'm like, I need to go back and watch this with the sound turned off. Right. Because it's so distracting where they're like having sidebars and Michael Cole's beside himself going, this is a bucket list for me to be here doing commentary with you. And he's like, well, Michael, you're a really nice guy too. And then JBL's like, hey, what about me, guys? And I'm like, hey, shut up. There's a really great match happening. And you guys are all talking over it.
Oh my God. Yes.
It was like, it bothered me so much. I was like, I've got to go back and watch this with no sound on at some point, because the match itself was really, really good. It was just all the commentators were taking away from it instead of adding to it.
Right. I agree. I'm glad that Bobby didn't squash Karrion Kross. I knew he was going to win. Yeah. When they did his entrance and they announced him his former military rank and all that good stuff, I'm like, yeah, he's winning. It's tribute to the troops. He's retired military. Like he's gonna
Bobby
win.
was getting a lot of love from the crowd too.
He was.
Yeah, he was getting a lot of love from the crowd. It's awesome. And you absolutely understand why.
Yeah, I get it. And again, I like the combination match, Bobby Lashley, Karrion Kross, because they're both powerhouses in their own right. And Karrion Kross is very aggressive in his movesets. And I think it was a great match. Except for the commentary, I agree. I was a little like, can y'all just shut up and let me watch the match? Like, please, like we just need y'all to just be quiet.
Listen, we already have to deal with JBL. Not that Brad Nessler isn't a wonderful guy.
No, he's great.
I love football, and he's great, and he was lovable. There's too many people. There were too much going on. Too much going on. Like I do feel like a 2-man booth is best. Two-person booth is the best. I think when you get to 3, and WWE does that a lot now, where they have a 3-person booth. There's a lot going on. 4 is way too many. And there's not, everyone's trying to get their spot in, and they're trying to get their talking points in, and it's too much.
It is. It really is. But we'll see what happens, because now Bobby Lashley's going up against Santos Escobar. I'm a little worried for Santos, but we'll see what happens.
That'll be an interesting one. I'm wondering how they will play that, unless Dominic's going to come down and actually interfere in that one. I would have a hard time thinking that Bobby Lashley would lose that, but we'll have to see how it plays out.
I mean, unless, surprise, Santos is the founding member of the SmackDown version of Judgment Day.
There you go. It's entirely possible. But speaking of, so next up was they had a backstage segment with Bayley and Damage Control. So we're still doing this. Bayley apologizing for the week before, said that I'm gonna hang back tonight because Asuka was having a match with Charlotte Flair. And they were basically like, yeah, you hang back, don't come out there, we don't like you, grr. And they did that whole thing. So they teased that for later on. That will come into play later. And then next up, speaking of, there was ever a time to turn the sound off, is CM Punk came out. CM Punk came out to cut a commercial. He was cutting a promo. Those are the one times where I'm like, hey, can we just like duck out to one of those commercial breaks so you're not interrupting a match later? Like, just do a commercial break in the middle when CM Punk's talking. And then he gets out there and he reminds everybody that I'm not closing the show. They're not going to cut me for time. Cheer as much as you want. Tell me you love me, baby. And does his whole thing. And basically just spent the whole time ranting about, am I going to go to Raw or am I going to go to SmackDown? And then he goes, I'm going to make my decision on Monday night. So you're going to Raw. So like you're not going to go over to Raw to say, yoink, I'm going to SmackDown. And you're not going to be on the same Randy Orton and him are not going to be on the return to the same show.
God,
so it kind of felt a little disingenuous. It's like, okay, you're going to Raw. That's why you're going to wait till Monday to make your official decision. And then he kind of semi-declared for the Royal Rumble because he was like, do you guys want to see me throw 29 other people out of a ring? The crowd was obviously very wild for CM Punk, and they were really involved. You got the first hints of him calling out Roman Reigns a little bit, doing the whole, hey, I was the original Paul Heyman guy. So he starts going down that path and talking about that. And then he just kind of called out everybody on Earth. He's like calling out, talking about Jimmy and Jey Uso, talking about Cody Rhodes, talked about Kevin Owens, finally got to Seth Rollins and did the whole, the only thing he's got is that, and he does that whole thing. And the crowd, there was a lot of Seth Rollins fans there too.
There were.
And so it was just like this big mishmash of him just ranting against a lot of different people. And then saying he was going to make a decision on Raw, which is obviously going to be Raw, but least favorite segment of the night for me.
I mean, okay, I like CM Punk, right? But this was a promo, and I'm looking at my notes here. I literally wrote down, this is all I wrote. I put filler, random, tease, promote, Raw. That's all he did. Again, he teased that he's going to have Raw.
That is a much better synopsis than how I told it.
That's really, I summed it up right there in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. So again, it's not, it's not that he can't talk on the mic, right? It's just he talked without saying anything. He just threw names out there. He sounds like that grandpa that everyone has that just gives, like, remember the Abe Simpson where he just gives like a random war story and falls asleep halfway through? Yeah, kind of the vibe I got, but it's just not. Because he doesn't know what I really do think that they don't know what they're going to do with him, or they are going to just speed lane him over from going to Rumble, winning, then fighting Seth at WrestleMania. Because he was bashing Seth more than anything because we know they hate each other. But at the same time, it's like, why go through this whole shenanigans? I thought we were going to do the whole, will he sign with us? Will he, like they did with Randy, right? And I'm glad Randy went over there to SmackDown because, CM Punk's going to go to Raw. No way you're going to make enough TV time for the two of them. So,
it wouldn't make sense to. But, it was there wasn't a lot of value, I thought, from CM Punk today. It was just him kind of riffing the whole time. And he's good at riffing. So I criticize him a lot. He is very talented on the mic, and he's funny, and he's charismatic and all of that.
Yeah. One of the best, I would say,
it's
for
just,
sure. Yeah.
It does feel like they're just kind of biding their time until they figure out how they're going to approach it. So it's like, just get up there and just yell, CM. Get up there and just talk for a little while. Next up after that was Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. With Damage Control came down to the ring, and they were ambushed by Bianca Belair, Selena Vega, Shotzi, Michin. So it was kind of like, they come out there and brawl and then wipe them all out. So, excuse me, all of Asuka's advantage was going to be gone. So that was kind of the teaser for this one. It matched very quickly, went to commercial break again, and then it comes back, and I feel like the match never really had a chance to get going because of the commercial break and the way that it was kind of pushed in there. And it wasn't a very long match because then after that, because Damage Control was gone, Bayley comes out, even though she said she wouldn't, which was kind of pretty obvious that was going to end up happening.
You knew she was.
So Bayley comes out again, second week in a row. You knew it was going to happen. She interferes this time. It works out well. Asuka wins by, I guess, the most devastating maneuver of all, the surprise roll-up. Rears its ugly head once again. Yeah. And she picks up the win over Charlotte Flair. But this time it worked out, and Bayley was able to help her. And does this mean that they're going to mend fences? I don't know. This storyline kind of feels like it's floundering. It's like watching Bayley just have the Mean Girls treatment every week, and then sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. It's like if you're gonna have them turn on her, have them just turn on her, or if you're gonna have her turn on them, however you want to approach this. It feels like it's not really going anywhere. But Asuka picks up the win via surprise roll up.
Just pull the trigger, right? Just do it. They're gonna kick her out. Bayley's gonna turn face. Just do it. Like, enough of this.
I know it's like they couldn't telegraph this more. Actually, it would be hilarious if they all just make up. Yeah, well, and since you did call it, and what would be hilarious though is if they go, "Hey, you know what, Bayley? You're all right by us. You're pretty cool. We had you pegged wrong. Sorry we've been so mean to you the last couple of weeks." And then they just completely forget the storyline happened and they're all back together again. That would be hilarious. I don't think they're going to do that.
No.
So
or they're going to get her. She's on Asuka's good side, and now she has that split, her and Asuka, and then Kairi Sane and Io Sky kind of beef, right? But I don't see that happening. I see it's more going to be everyone against Bayley. I think if it culminates, I think this is why they're dragging it out. It's going to culminate at the Rumble, during the Women's Rumble. She's going to be
that's what I was saying.
Everybody.
Do it do it during the Women's Rumble.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then
she's
have
going to be in there by herself.
And try to eliminate her.
Yeah, they all come in eventually to where they're all together, and Bayley's like, "Yes, we're all here, my friends." Boom, out goes Bayley. That's what they're going to do it.
Yeah,
I think.
Or I was thinking that right now too, and I was like, or have her, and maybe a couple of them attack her, and then she ends up eliminating all of Damage Control like throughout the match. It's like do something, like have them turn on each other. Like that would be kind of cool if she is the one that ends up eliminating all the Damage Control members, because like they two of them try to flip on her early,
right?
And then as they come down, she's getting rid of people. That would actually be kind of neat, but I don't think they're going to. I think it's far more likely that they'll all try to hug in the middle of the ring, and then they'll like, and they grab her and throw her over, and that's like the end of that. And it'll be very anticlimactic.
It really would.
But speaking of anticlimactic, no, I'm just kidding. Main event time is where we got to. So tag team action, Solo and Jimmy Uso versus LA Knight, Randy Orton. Of course, 2 minutes into this matchup, we're going to commercial break again, which it happened every single match tonight. Every match that was it. Then when they got back from the break, the match finally got rolling, and that's where it was a really good match. It was really, really good, and of course it was really good because all four of those guys are great. Yeah. It was high energy. LA Knight was getting a lot of love from the fans, which again, I'm not on the LA Knight bandwagon yet, but everybody was eating it up. The troops loved him. He was getting a lot of love from the crowd. Yeah. it was a really great matchup. Of course, Randy Orton, LA Knight ended up picking up the win. They were victorious. It was, and then they just kind of went straight out to, hey, they're standing tall, and then the show ends. So there wasn't like any additional storyline play out. Nothing really happened. I guess Randy Orton got over not knowing who LA Knight was, and now they're they're BFFs and best buddies now. I'm assuming that's what happened. But yeah, once you got past the commercial break and they got back into it, it was a really great match because, of course, it was because Randy Orton and LA Knight and Solo and Jimmy Uso were all really good. So I liked it. I think it would have been better if there wasn't a commercial break. And I felt like they could have made it happen. I felt like they could have moved some stuff around earlier to where they didn't need to do that. But it is what it is. That's how it played out. But yeah, that was SmackDown for this week.
And I mean, I enjoyed that final match. And of course, it's going to be good because Jimmy is one half of one of the greatest tag teams to ever, But it's just, it was just, I liked it. I had, honestly, I'm looking at my notes here. It was just, I put, it was a good match. Takes away, I feel it kind of takes away from the revenge story. And that's because, now what do you do? Okay, him and LA Knight beat two of the Bloodline already. So, okay, technically, you came here to beat the Bloodline. You just did it. So, all you have left is Roman.
No, it's still got Roman Reigns. That's it. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of don't like this. I would have much rather that be drawn out just a little bit more. But also possibly feud with LA Knight and Randy Orton because Randy was tagging himself in. And LA Knight was getting kind of frustrated with him, and they kind of were, little back and forth there. But who knows? A lot can happen from there. Randy is just amazing what he does, so he'll probably just, he's going to make anything look good. So I'm curious to see how they move forward with it.
Yeah, and I think they already announced too Roman Reigns is returning next week, right? I think they said that like right in the lead up. Yep. So obviously he hasn't been here. Yeah. It does feel rushed, though. To your point, it's okay. He's already beat these guys. Roman Reigns the only one left, and he's now going to be here next week after his long absence. So I hope they don't rush through this storyline. Yeah. If they do, that it's like, okay, you're not going to give Randy Orton a chance to actually breeze through this one before the Royal Rumble, which would be unfortunate.
It would.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I will say I thought SmackDown was a lot better than Raw this week. Raw, I gave a C. I wasn't as critical as you with C minus. Gave a C. SmackDown, I'll give a B plus. It wasn't perfect, but I will say the things that were really good were the opening match, which the contrast to Raw. Opening match was really good and succinct and made sense. Main event was really good and made sense. Where I was kind of let down by the opening match and main event in Raw. Let down by a lot of things on Raw. But SmackDown, the blue brand, I think gets the better grade for this week. So I think it was a good palate cleanser after Raw. What do we expect this week? Obviously, CM Punk's got a big decision to make on Monday night.
Yeah, he's going to sign his Raw contract on Monday night and then talk about how he has
clearly there's no suspense.
Yeah. No, there's no suspense. They might as well just start the show and let him sign the contract and be done with it. But in typical WWE fashion, that's going to drag the whole show all the way to the very end with like a 5 to 15 minute segment of CM Punk signing to Raw. I feel it's going to be anticlimactic, unfortunately. But next week you also have that's pretty much it for now. You have the Shinsuke Nakamura Cody Rhodes match, which I'm looking forward to see how they do it. I'm hoping it's not an actual match. I'm hoping it's just something to like extend out. Somebody needs to get jumped or something. That's what I feel.
Yeah, something to set up a longer term. I'm like, just please don't rush through that. Something to set up a longer term. But I don't want them to have somebody win definitively. Or what I don't want them to do is to have a match like every week. It's like, don't have like a match every week where you're going back and forth on this.
Oh yeah.
Spend a little bit more time massaging it, and so I agree. I'd be interested to see that. Interested to see Roman Reigns return finally, and kind of how they're going to continue to play that out. Wondering if he'll mention CM Punk at all, since CM Punk dropped his name earlier, or if they're just going to focus him right on Randy Orton. I'm thinking they're going to focus him right on Randy Orton at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will see.
They're going to have a custody battle of Paul Heyman. Just like Ray and Eddie.
That would be
did
hilarious.
For Dom.
I saw a meme about that where they're like, it was like CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, and Roman Reigns in a triple threat match for the custody of Paul Heyman. I was like that.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar will win
so
that
good.
one.
Yeah, I think he would almost have to. I think he's contractually obligated, but if it was a real fight, he would definitely win that one. Because we know CM Punk doesn't do well in MMA. We know that for a fact. We've seen it twice.
There's proof.
It was pretty horrifically bad. It is documented. All right, well that's it for this week. It was a great recap. We appreciate you all joining us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're watching this on our YouTube page. And we will see you next week. So until then, I'm Michael DeAngelo, and for Big D, have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. Peace out.